Where did the history of humanity begin? Textbooks talk about Lucy, or Homo erectus, but much earlier, 7 million years ago, there was a battle among scientists to find that missing link. Today we introduce the hottest trophy from that battle. This is Sahelanthropus tchadensis, also known as Toumaï. Toumaï means hope of life in the Daza language. Although this fossil was discovered over 20 years ago, controversy still rages over whether it is truly the oldest ancestor of humanity or merely an extinct ape. For 10 minutes, we will uncover everything surrounding Toumaï: the shock of its discovery, the bipedalism debate, and the verdict of the latest science. Toumaï's emergence was an event that profoundly shook the field of paleoanthropology. In 2001, the MPFT team led by Michel Brunet discovered the fossil in the Jurub Desert of the Republic of Chad, Central Africa. Using biochronological evidence and cosmogenic nuclide dating, the fossil was accurately dated to be between approximately 6.8 million and 7.2 million years old. At the time, the consensus was that all human ancestors were found in the East African Rift Valley. However, Toumaï was discovered 2,500 kilometers away from that region. This implied that the origin of humanity was not confined exclusively to East Africa. What was discovered was a nearly complete cranium, and scholars immediately sought evidence of humanity's key feature, bipedal locomotion, within it. Brunet's team was convinced that this cranium definitely belonged to the early human lineage, or hominins. This conviction stemmed from the mosaic of primitive and hominin-like features Sahelanthropus possessed: a small brain volume similar to that of a chimpanzee and a large, thick brow ridge. Its canines were not large and sharp like a chimpanzee's, but showed extensive apical wear. This meant the honing complex used for threat or combat had disappeared. The bipedal signal, the position of the foramen magnum, the opening where the spinal cord connects to the skull, was more anterior, forward, than in a chimpanzee, suggesting the head was held vertically on top of the spine, indicative of an initial stage of bipedalism. Due to these two core human-like features, small canines and a forward-facing foramen magnum, Toumaï was hailed as the oldest ancestor of humanity. However, the conclusive proof for bipedal locomotion must come from the postcranial skeleton, not the cranium alone. After 20 years of silence, research findings on the postcranial bones brought the controversy to a climax. In 2022, Dever et al. Analyzed the femur and argued that its shape best supported habitual terrestrial bipedalism. They argued that the structure in the thigh bone, the calcar femoral, provides the mechanical support required for an obligatory biped, suggesting that Sahelanthropus was a biped that also engaged in climbing. Soon after, a research team led by Marine Kazanavi refuted the 2022 study point by point. They pointed out that the morphological characteristics of the femur were not unique to habitual bipeds and are also found in extant apes or other non-primate species. The most decisive counter-argument focused on limb proportions. Analysis of the ulna and femur ratio estimated the Sahelanthropus arm-to-leg ratio to be 108%. This is far from modern humans and falls within the range of great apes such as chimpanzees and orangutans. An ape-like limb ratio serves as strong evidence that Sahelanthropus was not a habitual biped. If Toumaï is not a definite ancestor in the human lineage, what does this fossil mean to us? Early hominins from the same period, such as Sahelanthropus, Auroran, and Ardipithecus, shared traits such as small canines and bipedal-related features, but had different body structures. This suggests that the early evolution of the human lineage was not a single linear process, but a complex radiation that experimented with diverse forms and locomotion methods 6 to 7 million years ago. Some scholars even suggest that Sahelanthropus may belong to a separate, extinct group of African apes, distinct from both hominins and the Pan lineage. Their features may have simply retained the primitive form of the last common ancestor of humans and chimpanzees. Sahelanthropus lived in a mixed environment of forests and grasslands. Its ecological niche was likely that of an opportunistic creature relying on both terrestrial and arboreal resources. The story of Sahelanthropus, or Toumaï, shows that the history of human evolution is still an unfinished puzzle. Definitive evidence for bipedalism remains firmly unagreed upon. Nevertheless, Sahelanthropus suggests that the divergence of chimpanzees and Homo also occurred in Central Africa and continues to pose the fundamental question, what does it mean to be human? Sahelanthropus will remain the central axis for studying the beginning of human evolution, and only the discovery of more fossils will be able to solve this 7-million-year-old riddle. This small cranium is the unfinished puzzle piece holding the truth of 7 million years.